Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast. I am your favorite podcaster next to the other two, Johananon.
It's me, Casualty CDG, your second favorite podcaster, next to the other two. I'm here with my arch nemesis, Jahan, and my sworn enemy, Drew Munhausen.
That's me, sworn enemy and professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen, and welcome to episode 79 of Fresh Out the Podcast. And I actually had a little topic of conversation I wanted to bring up with both of you because I feel like we've spent so much time on the show talking about the state of streaming, and we talk a lot about the streaming services that we prefer, that we like, and so on. And there was kind of a story that was all over the Twitters here recently, and I wanted to talk about it. And this was a project that was developing between Nancy Meyers and Netflix. Are either of you familiar with this story?
Any relation to Oscar?
No, Nancy Meyer, isn't that the sister from Stranger Things?
It is. No, it's Byers.
Oh, boy.
Wait, no. Oh, man. Okay. Anyways.
But you see what I did.
Stranger Things jokes here right off the top. No, for sure. So Nancy Meyers is a famous director of rom-coms and ones that have managed to make a decent return in the past. So movies like she actually did the Lindsay Lohan, it's the Parent Trap movie, but then she went on to do things like Something's Gotta Give and It's Complicated and The Holiday.
I saw that Parent Trap movie in theaters at that Dollar Theater on Mason Road.
Do you know that she doesn't have a sister in real life?
Yeah, she died after that movie.
Crazy.
It was crazy.
So, yeah, so she makes these rom-coms. What Women Want is another one. She made a bunch, and they all have managed to make decent money, and the ones that she's directed. And she hasn't made one since a movie called The Intern in 2015. And so there was news that broke recently that she was striking a deal with Netflix and that they were going to give her $130 million to create a new rom-com for Netflix that was going to star Scarlett Johansson, Michael Fassbender, I think it had Penelope Cruz and Owen Wilson were all going to be in it. And so some big stars and make a rom-com. But of course, Twitter exploded because they're like, $130 million for a rom-com is insane. Which they're right. That would normally cost, these are movies that should cost $40 to $50 million. And that's on the high end. That's a high end budget for that. And then news broke later on that the project between her and Netflix fell apart. And what the trades were saying is that because Nancy Meyers wanted $150 million to do the movie, and Netflix was not willing to up the money to do so. And it's been an interesting story. And what I wanted to talk about is it's the Netflix way, right? Here's the thing. There's the chance that this movie still gets picked up by another studio, right? Like WB was apparently engaging in it. Any other studio that makes this movie is only going to have to pay $40 to $50 million to make it. And the reason for that is that Netflix does not release movies in theaters, which means there's no box office clauses or anything like that as part of the contracts for the actors in these movies. So everything gets paid up front with a Netflix movie. And for example, something like Top Gun Maverick, Tom Cruise's salary for that movie was dependent on how much money that made at the box office. So he made lots of money for that movie since it made $1.6 billion. For a movie like this rom-com, they would all, be paid based on the box office proceeds and so on. They would get bonuses and things like that. But since Netflix does not have that, this is basically they're asking for $80 to $100 million to pay for Nancy Meyers and the 4 stars, and then the rest of the money is to actually make the movie. And I wanted to know what y'all thought about this kind of the the appeal to actors of working with Netflix and getting their fees up front and things like that, and just because Gary's very animated with facial expressions, and I feel like he's got a lot to say on these kinds of topics.
The first, I mean, we all know that was way too much money, first of all, for a rom-com. And then, secondly, once you started to talk about the money, I was like, man, Scarlett Johansson could just get paid $150 million pretty much if she wanted to for a role. So then the money started to make sense. I wonder how much of that budget was for Scarlett Johansson in the first place, because I bet Owen Wilson doesn't ask for the same paycheck that Scarlett does.
Scarlett Johansson, who famously was just in a legal battle with Disney over Black Widow because they released it day and date on Disney Plus under the Disney Plus premium mantle, if you remember that. So she claimed that was causing people to not go to the theaters, which then affected the total gross of the movie at the box office and how much she got paid.
And she was right, and her contract was right, and her lawyers got her money, and so good for her.
And the other angle of this that I thought was interesting is that Jason Blum, super famous producer, who started Blumhouse, which is very famous horror production company, that their whole thing is that they make these horror movies for pretty low budget and then, make back their budget 10 times or more. So, that's their kind of the whole Blumhouse model.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could have, get someone besides Netflix to produce your movie and then sell your movie to Netflix.
Well, and that's what he spoke out against. It's interesting because his claim as a producer, and I think that there's a lot of truth to this, is basically if you've got The Rock and Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot making Red Notice for Netflix, and they're all getting paid a whole lot of money up front. They know they are getting paid. There's no box office to worry about with this movie. So what is pushing them to do their best work? Because they don't care. They've already got paid.
I think that's kind of a straw man argument there. Any performer is going to want to do the best job anytime they're in front of a camera or on a stage. Whether you're getting, $15 for your house show as a wrestler or you're putting on your main event match at WrestleMania, you want to be the guy and you want the fans to like you. You don't want to phone it in and be a piece of crap because everyone on the internet has something to say about that. If you phone it in and you just collect your check, people are going to shit all over you. I think any performer wants to do their best, I believe.
But don't you think that there would still be extra incentive if they need people to go out to the theaters and pay to see their movie so that they can make more money as well? Don't you think that there's more incentive to them to really make sure that the movie is good?
I don't think that The Rock can make a good movie either way. I don't think it matters. I think he's just going to collect his gazillion-dollar paycheck and be The Rock. And Ryan Reynolds, in this example, it's Ryan Reynolds. He's much the same. Ryan Reynolds is going to be Ryan Reynolds no matter what movie he's in. He's going to collect his $100 million check just like The Rock. So I don't know if those guys are the best examples because I think they sort of phone it in anyways. They kind of have a niche that they do, and that's what you're going to get out of them.
I mean, yeah, I think it depends on the person. Because some people actually give a shit about their performance. Some people just collect their check. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think actors, for the most part, actually are trying to, give a good performance to, bring in the box office. I don't know. I've never thought of it like that before.
It's kind of puts a new perspective on it, and it's interesting. And the other thing with this,
they probably promote it, because they do promotion, so that maybe they'll promote it less. I don't know.
I don't know. It's interesting. I hope that they're doing their best work. And the thing is with Netflix is obviously they had an interesting 2022 because it was the first time they had subscriber loss and their stock went down and there are all kinds of things, and now a lot of the streamers are kind of backtracking on certain parts of the model because they're trying to figure out what's profitable and what's not, and Netflix is scaling back their spending and the amount of movies they're coming out with. So that's the other thing too, is like 3 or 4 years ago Netflix probably would have said $130 million, sure. 150, sure, you got it. Like, we just want the movie. And I think that now they're just in a place where they have to actually be a little bit more thoughtful about how they're spending and how much they're spending, just because they need to make a profit still.
I don't think that a rom-com is worth that amount, and almost all of those actors and actresses are, tried and tested, sure, but they're also dare I say, they're kind of stale. We've seen them, we've seen that, and a Scarlett Johansson rom-com is not something that's going to put my butt in a seat. So even if you went with somebody like Selena Gomez, somebody that was younger and has a hit TV show right now, I'm more likely to watch that. But I've seen Scarlett Johansson. I've seen her my whole life. I know what she's about. And if I wanted to watch a Scarlett Johansson rom-com, which I kind of do, I want to watch it with Colin Jost, and I just want them to have their own reality show. I just want to see what Colin Jost and Scarlett Johansson are up to. And if you have to pay them $120 million to make it happen, go ahead, because that's a reality show I could get behind.
I always like bouncing these things off of you because I feel like I get stuck in the film Twitter hive mind of it all, and I like that you all have your own opinions. It's nice. It's refreshing when people form their own opinions and, don't have to be an expert on everything. And this is why I think that our show works.
Thanks. Hey, thank you.
And so moving on to the next thing, I have here on the list franchise fatigue. And there's a lot of things that have come up with this because actually right now it's we're seeing Shazam! Fury of the Gods came out and kind of bombed at the box office this past weekend. It was way under its projections, which, I think there's a whole lot to that. We know the state of DC movies, and they have these movies that they have to still kind of dump out in theaters, even though we know that they're going a completely different route in the future. And these movies are still going to come out. And Shazam! Fury of the Gods wasn't very good anyway, so had that working against it. But right now there's kind of a public battle going on between Zachary Levi is now out in the press kind of throwing The Rock under the bus because there's spoilers for Shazam! Fury of the Gods, minor spoilers. I'm not really going to go into it, but there's a post-credit scene that was supposed to feature the Justice Society, some of the characters that are in Black Adam, and The Rock nixed that when they were filming it and said, no, the characters from Black Adam can't appear in the Shazam sequel. And, this, of course, is after The Rock refused to be the villain in the first Shazam movie because he wanted Black Adam to have his own movie and, all kinds of things. And so Zachary Levi, as I absolutely say it. Oh, and apparently The Rock also nixed a Shazam cameo in Black Adam in favor of having a Superman cameo, which we all know where that went. So there's just battles, finger pointing happening now with this Shazam movie, and it didn't do very well. And also, I heard a stat this week that apparently viewership for this season of The Mandalorian is down about 20% from last season, which I think is pretty interesting. It's lower than Obi-Wan. It's lower than the Book of Boba Fett. There's just less people watching. And I kind of feel that I'm watching The Mandalorian, you guys are watching it, and I feel like most of my friends are, but it just seems to be less buzzed about in general this season than it has in the past, less of the event feel that past seasons have had. So I wanted to talk about the Shazam stuff and this, and then also Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is considered to be kind of not a box office total failure, but it's not making as much money as anybody thought. It's probably going to be the lowest grossing of all the Ant-Man movies. I think it's going to struggle to make even $500 million, which for a big MCU movie that we all thought was going to be pretty pivotal with the new big bad in it, it's not making all the money that we've seen other MCU movies make. So are franchises in a bad spot, or is it just the times? Are we overloaded with content, or is it a matter of they just need to be making better content? I don't know. There's a lot of questions to ask about it. Curious to get y'all's take on that too.
I mean, so why is anyone listening? I mean, I get it. He's the star of their movie, but why? What does Dwayne know about comics, movie franchise? Like, what does he actually know about like create? Like, he's in them, sure, and
Well, and Black Adam was a box office failure too. So like, what does it matter what he
of
thought?
course it was
like,
a black.
Nothing is a success.
It all makes a lot of sense now because, like, yeah, he should have been the bad guy in the first Shazam movie, but so all of these problems, I feel the most underlining thing is they think that they can hold our interest indefinitely, and they can't. Like, I was excited when
Nothing can.
nothing
Let's be
can,
fair.
nothing can. Yeah, exactly.
Well, except for maybe The Simpsons, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, but I mean more like hold our interest like waiting wise. Because when they announced that he was going to be Black Adam, I was excited. 5 years ago, you know what I mean? Like, and then nothing. You know what I mean? Just nothing, nothing, nothing. They didn't hint at him here. They didn't place a relic there. You know, he wasn't on a CCTV in Superman. Like, nothing. You know, he was just gone. He just and then 5 years later, you know, bleh. Like, they just kind of, it was a lackluster event. And I feel like a lot of these things are doing that. We're just waiting too long with not enough, like, to hold us over. I don't know. And then specifically with the new season of Mandalorian, I feel like they're really just not getting to the place they need to get quick enough. Like, there's nothing. They haven't put their hook yet. They haven't put their season hook after 3 episodes, and I'm like, okay, like, what are you waiting for? I don't know. It's not so great.
I would say that we are not experiencing franchise fatigue so much as there has always been franchise fatigue. When we were growing up, one of the big conversations that people always used to like to have was, is there a sequel as good as the original? But that's because back then, when we were growing up, there were not that many sequels and not that many trilogies. Now the market is flooded with all of these movies that are connected in sequels and trilogies. And we are on to a new age where sequels and trilogies are really good, and they've been really good now for a while. But the same way they were bad back in the 90s, these franchises can't all stay good. They can't all be good all the time. And so it just sort of reminds me of that old, you know, is it going to be as good as, is the sequel better than the original? Kind of applies to franchises too. You know, we're in phase, 3, 4 now of Marvel.
5.
Can they be as good as the original or the sequel or the trilogy? We're in part 5. I think at some point you need to look at starting over, and I know DC is starting over out of necessity, but having a fresh mind take over, grab the reins, and make some new, fresh stories may not be a bad idea. And instead of just leading these characters on and us watching their lives just kind of become boring, like Hawkeye. Let's move on. There's a lot of characters left in the Marvelverse. There's the X-Men, you know, we'd all love to see. There's the Fantastic Four that they should just skip and not worry about because no one's ever liked the Fantastic Four and no one ever will.
I love the Fantastic. I'm the guy. I'm the one
You're not
that
the
likes
guy.
the Fantastic Four. I'm pro Fantastic Four.
I don't even know what to do with that information. They're like the worst comic book team that exists.
They have some great comic book storylines, but they have struggled to bring them to life on screen in a successful way, for sure.
Even in even in books, they're not my favorite of the teams. They're one of my least favorites. But the point is, there's a lot that Marvel can do. There's a lot of other stories that don't need to be connected anymore. Now we have a villain. That's good. Let's get some new teams and some new directors and some new creative to continue with this villain that we've built, because he's enough to continue the story. I think we can get rid of a lot of these old heroes.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Like, I'm not necessarily sitting here bursting with excitement for the Marvels coming out this year. Like, I'll see it. I'm looking much more forward to something like the Thunderbolts, or Blade, or something different. Even though
Something
we've
new,
seen
yeah.
Blade movies before, I want to see this new iteration and what they do. So I think, yeah, I'm with you, Gary. Like,
I
bring
mean,
new characters in. Let's try,
I'm
and
hoping
that's why.
I'm hoping that Kane is the end of this current world, the current MCU. I'm hoping that they started over with like Young Avengers or something like that, and
Ultimate Marvel.
they start from square one. Well, that'd be great. Yeah, Ultimate's a possibility. They just brought back the Ultimate Universe in the comics just recently, so who knows?
And this is one of those things that, like, for us to say it deserves a wipe, you can look back at the comic books. Marvel wipes comic lines all the time. They reboot all the time. They do these huge world events where they just basically scrub the page and then rewrite what characters we're going to use this time around. Marvel, the comic books do it. This isn't just me saying the cinematic universe is reaching end. It's literally the formula they have to follow. If they don't, the movies will stop selling just like the books did.
I mean, because in the books, they don't just get rid of everything. They, like, reconfigure to make it better. And, like,
Correct.
they should do that. Exactly, yeah, absolutely. Like, bring the mutants in. What are you doing?
Yeah, and it doesn't mean you need to fire every actor and every actress that was connected. Just put us in Earth 617 instead of 616, and let's tell some new stories. I would love to have Elizabeth Olsen signed on forever as Scarlet Witch until she's like 90. But, you could recast other people, that's fine, but you could... I think, as viewers, I think we're mature enough as viewers to handle a reset without getting confused and pretending that we didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, how many Bonds have we been through, right? Like, there's just
Exactly.
a new Iron Man one year, and that's it. And continue the storyline, or do whatever you got to do, or do some new storylines. I think we can all accept it.
Man,
How
they
many
really dropped
Batmans
the
have
ball.
we seen?
They set up his heir a long time ago, and they just were like, whatever. They just threw that one in the trash.
I think that's one of the things that makes the whole gunverse, in DC exciting in a sense. Not that I'm necessarily sitting here like, waiting with bated breath, but like, I do think there's some anticipation there just because there's new characters, there are new directions. Like, let's just see new stuff we haven't seen before. New characters.
It's exciting in one way, but there's already been turmoil going on, and it's just like I don't have confidence in it yet. But yeah,
it's for sure a wait and see approach, and obviously we now know that Gunn is officially directing the Superman movie, and based on the images he shared with it, it sounds like they might be doing some of the cooler new storylines that comic people, comic people. What am I talking about? Comic readers are fans of. I don't know, but it's just we'll see. We'll see.
I think I liked Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, but I would have never said put this guy in charge of the cinematic universe based on those two things. I would have said this guy for sure is one of our leading directors now because he can actually make good movies, unlike the other people we've had. But I'm with you. I'm not sitting here holding my breath. I'm not expecting any 10 out of 10 DC films, but I do expect them to be fun and enjoyable, which is something that DC films have not been for a long time.
My whole thing with him being in charge now is like he did Peacemaker and Suicide Squad and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Why is he doing Superman? You know what I mean? Like what? Like he needs to stay in his wheelhouse. He needs to do these obscure, campy nonsense
team
stuff.
movies.
Yeah, he's to keep his strengths, and he's like gonna try and do something. It's gonna, I don't think it's gonna be good. I don't think Superman translates to movies that well. Like, I feel like it's just going to be a lot of him flying, and like, I just don't think, you don't get to hear like his struggle, like his internal struggle with being the most powerful being on Earth is way more interesting than him punching holes in the ground. I don't know, like it doesn't translate to screen that well, and yeah.
Well, I feel like now, to round up this conversation, going back to when Gary said the secret is that there's always been franchise fatigue, I need somebody out there to edit in the scene from Marvel's The Avengers from 2012, where Steve Rogers says something to Bruce Banner along the lines of, Bruce, it's time to get angry. And Bruce turns and looks at Cap and says, that's my secret, Cap. I'm always angry, and turns into the Hulk. So now I need that to be Gary's face on Mark Ruffalo and to say, there's always been franchise fatigue. That's the secret. That is the secret. Well, cool. Well, we can take that time to move on to our, what we've been watching, what we've been doing. And just as a segue, since I had already mentioned Shazam, if it's okay with you, I would like to talk Shazam for a second.
I saw a really funny quote in my local newspaper from our movie critic, Rick Romancito, and he said that Shazam is enjoyable if you can relax in the proverbial lazy boy of your brain. And I thought that was a really good review.
It's just... Review. I like that review because it's not wrong at all. Like, I don't think that Shazam Fury of the Gods is an all-out disaster or atrocity or anything like that. Like, it's not. No, not Shazam, excuse me. Black Adam was. I would say Black Adam could be labeled as an atrocity. Shazam Fury of the Gods is not. However, I rewatched the first Shazam before seeing this, because I hadn't seen it since I saw it in theaters. I remembered liking it and thinking it was pretty charming. Rewatched it. Sure enough, it's still super charming. It holds up. I think that it really works. And the thing that the first Shazam movie has going for it is you've got Billy Batson, who's this 14-year-old kid who has a lot of drama in his personal life. He's gone from foster home to foster home, so he's dealing with that and trying to find his mom, and then becoming a superhero and trying to learn how to be a superhero. And there's just like a lot of personal drama at play, and you get a lot of Billy and the family, and I think that's the stuff that makes that movie work and makes it fun. And you go into the sequel, and all of those things have now been solved, and so now you just have the superhero family, and they got to fight a new villain. And like, that's about all there is to it. And so it's just not very interesting, especially because Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren play the villains, and they're just kind of like there to collect a paycheck is how it comes across. Rachel Zegler, who played Maria in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, is in this as another villain adjacent character.
Everything
and she's actually
you're saying makes this sound worse and worse and worse.
She's actually really good in it. I actually really like her, and I think she has a lot of charisma, and I think she's going to be a great movie star. She's actually playing the live-action Snow White in the Disney's next, live action adaptation that they're doing. Because
thank God they're doing more of those.
Oh hell yeah! Are there going to be 7 dwarves?
As far as I know, Peter Dinklage has already expressed his disdain for this a few years ago or so. That was
hell yeah! Thing. Fucking love Dinkles.
But I mean, it's just Shazam and the family fighting, and that's it. So it's like you said, Gary, your reviewer from the Taos. What's the Taos paper called? Remind me.
I think it's just called Taos News. Yeah,
from Taos News. Just recline in the lazy boy of your mind. That is for sure the way to watch this. The other thing that really doesn't work for me with Shazam, and it's kind of like, for better or for worse, this franchise is for sure ending now with the new direction of DC and the fact that this is a box office failure. The thing that also didn't work is that Zachary Levi's performance as Shazam, he's playing up the I'm a teenager in an adult body being a superhero, and
is it cringy?
Kind of, yes, and I think it's cringy in the first one too, but it kind of works because Billy Batson's a 14-year-old, and it plays okay just because it's new. In the second movie, Billy Batson's now a 17-year-old, and he's almost out of the foster system, and he's obviously much more mature, and like the fact that Zachary Levi is still playing it as like a 11-year-old in a superhero's body just kind of doesn't work. Also, I think that the kid that plays Billy Batson is just like inherently cooler than Zachary Levi is. So I just have a hard time buying that.
That's not the highest bar.
Yeah, but Billy's kind of cool, but Shazam's not really very cool. I don't know. That's my take on Shazam: Fury of the Gods. It's like a solid 4 or 5 out of 10 is where I'm putting it, but not.
When my eyeballs saw this trailer, the costumes of the Super family was just a no-go for me. I hated the color palettes. I hated the costumes. I know that they're cheesy and fun, but they look bad to me. They look the wrong kind of cheesy. Shazam's costume looks great, but everybody else in theirs looks like they just tried to give him a Shazam costume. And I'm not a Shazam reader. I'm not a Shazam guy. I don't dislike Shazam, but seeing Shazam Super Family in their matching Shazam onesies just was not going to put me in the theater.
I've always liked Shazam, but I am not really that interested in this movie.
Okay, this is like kind of a deep cut, but I've got a nitpick with this movie also that I have to dive into. So, if you've seen the first Shazam movie, Billy Batson has been going back and forth as Shazam. He says Shazam, he turns into a superhero. At the end of that movie, the climax of the movie,
Shazam one more fucking time.
the end of the movie, during the climax, he is able to give that power to his brothers and sisters as part of his foster family, and they're all kids, and they all become superheroes, and so there's 6 of them, and that's how that movie ends, as a big fight scene. So in that, you have all the kid actors, and then they turn into superheroes, and it's all adults playing the superheroes, and it's all different actors playing the superheroes from the kids. Okay, you with me? So in Shazam: Fury of the Gods, it is all the same kid actors and all the same adult actors except for one. The one girl, the actress is Grace Caroline Curry, and she plays Mary, who is the oldest foster sibling. She's like the academically driven one. She's in college. And for whatever reason, in the first movie, when she Shazams, she becomes a different actress. That actress is not in the sequel, and this actress that plays Mary in Fury of the Gods plays both the child and superhero version. Okay? So only one of these kids, it's the same actress that plays the kid and the superhero version, and it just makes me have a lot of questions. So, like, does that make me... Am I supposed to believe then that Billy Batson is going to age into Zachary Levi and just eventually be the same person when he Shazams? Or is this just a young actress had a really good agent negotiating her contract and said, no, she's going to play both the character and the superhero this time? Anyway, just a little nitpick I had with this movie. I hope that it wasn't
either one of those things. I hope that no one ever realized it during the table reads or anything, that there were 2 different versions of her, and when they got to filming, they were just like, oh shit! And they didn't have a budget to hire another actress, so they just double cast her.
Yeah, I'm just like, why are they all being played by different... I mean, it makes sense for all the other kids to be played by different actors because they're all young, but why is she the one? And now am I supposed to believe that the older versions are what they're actually going to age into? It's very, very odd. But anyway, I just had to go down that rabbit hole because it's literally been in my brain since I saw this movie last week.
Well,
nobody else has talked about this.
Your rabbit hole has sent me down another rabbit hole, and now I wonder if that is supposed to be the adult version of you when you Shazam, or if you turn into a cosmic Shazam being.
I think you're supposed to... I think it is your adult version, because like even in the comics, like Billy Batson and Shazam share a lot of physical qualities like hair color and eye color and blah blah blah, and like when they Shazam in the first movie, like ethnicity transfers over, like that kind of thing. So I feel like it's probably supposed to be your adult self. I don't know if that's canon,
or like the best version of your adult self.
Yeah, an optimal self.
Yeah, well, anyways, that's Shazam: Fury of the Gods. The only other movie that I had to talk about this week is a rewatch, and I rewatched The Fabelmans because we're in the post-Oscar landscape, and The Fabelmans was an early Oscar contender, and it was nominated for Best Picture, but it didn't win anything at the Oscars, but I loved it. It was my #1 when we did our top 5s, and I rewatched it, and I still loved it, and it's still a 6 out of 5 for me. I think it's fantastic, and yeah, everybody watch The Fablemans.
I also did a rewatch of an Oscar movie. I watched Everything Everywhere again, and I actually liked it better the second time, even more so.
I was gonna ask how it held up for you on a rewatch.
I didn't think I was going to like it as much. I thought that like the first time it was just like, oh wow, look at everything. You know, I thought it was just a lot going on, and I don't know, but there's a lot of stuff I noticed the second time, and none of it really. The second watch did not take away from the experience. It was still weird, and it was still awesome.
That was my big takeaway, was how weird it still was on
Still
a second
weird.
watch.
Still
It's very weird. And the things that you remember being weird about it the first time, you'll find new things that are weird the second time.
Yeah.
That you forgot.
It was still great. But yeah.
All right. Well, I'll pass it on to one of y'all again. Anything else you've been watching, playing, anything you want to talk about?
So Jahan was talking about Vampire Survivor for weeks. He was playing the crap out of it on his PC on Xbox Game Pass, but it finally came to Game Pass for Xbox. And I played it a little bit a couple weeks ago, and then I played it a little bit more, and then I played it a little bit more, and I played it a little bit more. And Vampire Survivor it's a lot of fun. It grows on you. As you play, you unlock new weapons and new characters with new passive abilities. So mostly what you're doing is you collect 6 items that attack and 6 items that give you like utility, like increase your damage or decrease cooldowns and stuff like that. And so at first you're just running around trying not to get killed by a handful of skeletons or something simple like that. And by the end, each level is 30 minutes. At the end of 30 minutes, you automatically, it's over. So it starts off easy, right? You got your one little whip, and you're whipping in front of you, and you whip a couple bad guys. But then by the end, your whip like attacks like 6 times above your head, and then lightning is zapping all over the map, and there's just crap blowing up off of you, and hundreds of thousands of enemies are just dying, and just waves and waves of just crazy shenanigans. I really recommend Vampire Survivor. It's a kind of a low graphic pixel game, really easy to play. It's never longer than 30 minutes, and that's if you win. So you'll die shorter than that a lot when you first start playing. You unlock permanent upgrades that carry over from game to game, like increased experience and double attack on your weapons. And like I said, it's on Game Pass. So if you have Xbox and you have Game Pass, you should give Vampire Survivor a try. While it might not be something that initially hooks you, it's something I think you should leave on your Xbox because you can come back to it and it's easy to play. It's not like you forget the controls or anything. And the more you play, the better you get.
Controls.
Yeah, you just turn, you just look and move. It's so easy, it's so fun, and I think for any age range, really, if you have kids, I think your kids could play this too.
It's really fun.
Super fresh, man. Jahan talked about it for weeks. I'm glad I finally got to.
I've been playing
play
it a lot still.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I mean, yeah, I got to the higher levels. I finally like maxed out all the way to the top levels. I unlocked like weapon evolutions where you turn like your weapons into ridiculous shit. Mm-hmm. And like the game finally had to be like, all right, Jahan, we're gonna kill you now because you're too strong. And
yeah, when you get to the 30-minute mark,
they just
a boss just jumps in and kills you. You just get one hit by a boss.
Yeah, you just get murdered.
So, I was actually playing earlier today, Jahan, and I had that item that shoots and stuns people, like in a straight line. And so when the 30-minute mark hit, I ran from the boss and stunned him, and then just ran around circles, stunning him and stunning him and stunning him. And then a second boss came, and then a third boss came. And finally, they were able to one-hit me and kill me. But I survived 4 minutes past the mark, and I got an achievement for surviving longer than the level.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really fun game, and you just keep unlocking new layers of shit like every level. It's a good time. You keep unlocking new characters,
new maps, new characters, new weapons. It just keeps giving.
And it's also free on mobile. There's a free mobile version, and I know that the PC and the console cross progress, and I'm pretty sure that the phone does too. So you share progress across all your devices.
Would recommend, definitely certified fresh out the box, Vampire Survivor on Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass.
I might have to buy the DLC.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. What's it, like $10?
No, it's like fucking 4.
Oh yeah, I could probably find $4.
No. Speaking of video games, yeah, so I dug back down into Warhammer Total War 3. I got to play some online multiplayer. Was rocking the Army of the World Eaters, Blood for the Blood God, Skulls for the Skull Throne. Very fun. Now that I finally kind of understand how it works, how to play, it's really crazy. On an online game, it starts off with 270 different factions. And a lot of them are NPC, but then there's also the player factions, and it's nothing. It's a lot. It does kind of have some similarities to like Civilization, but it is just combat. Like the resource management's pretty minimal. It is just war. It's total war. So it's very fun. Can't recommend enough. Free on Game Pass currently. Also, I believe that there's a huge sale if you don't have Game Pass. You want to get on Steam.
Is that PC only, or is that?
It is
on
PC
console?
only.
Okay.
Xbox Game Pass, yeah. Which they do have games like that. So, like, if you don't have an Xbox, you can still get Xbox Game Pass for PC and still be, in a lot of ways, rewarded even more. So, definitely check it out. Speaking of PC games, also, right now, up until the 23rd, Steam Spring Sale happens every year. It's huge. You get, like, 50%, 90% off of, like, big games. Check it out. I know that like you get all of the XCOM and XCOM 2 content for like $20 right now, like all of it, every single DLC, both games, both just everything. There's also like I think Monster Hunter Rise is 50% off. A lot of stuff like that. There's a lot of big name games that are really really cheap right now. Don't miss out. I'm not sure what I'm going to buy, but I'm probably going to throw it down. So, yep.
Nice.
And the last thing, did you guys watch the 3rd episode of Mandalorian?
I did.
I think so.
I know we kind of grazed over it because I mentioned that the numbers were down, but we didn't really get to talk about the episode. I did watch it and liked it. I mean, it was fine. It's interesting because we record the show now on Tuesday nights, so it's the night before the new episode of Mando. So at the time we're recording, I feel like we've had kind of a week for the Mando discourse to kind of take place. And for this one, I haven't seen that much. So obviously, I guess, do you want to talk about the episode a little?
Yeah, we can talk about the episode a little bit. I mean, so like the first 2 episodes I really liked. I liked the setup in the first one. The second one was cool. Interesting stuff happened. The third one I was not a fan of.
Interesting.
They cut away from Mando and Bo-Katan. They go to follow the exploits of the Doctor from like 2 other episodes. He was the bad guy doctor that was stealing Baby Yoda's blood. I mean, like, wet fart sound. You know what I mean? That's all I have to say about it. Like, who cares? Like, why do I care?
Wet fart sound is the sound it makes when you steal blood.
Yep, that's fair. He's doing a Project Paperclip where they're, reintegrating the Nazis into science programs on American soil kind of style thing. If you know about that in real life, look it up. But yeah,
I did like seeing some of the way the New Republic is operating on Coruscant and like what that looks like, and that's the type of stuff I'm interested in. The show is like, show me these different worlds and how they look, and I don't even mind straying away from Mando for a little bit, but like this was the longest episode that we've had so far,
and it was mostly away from Mando, and it was
I feel like I really felt that length when watching it.
I would have been fine with like a snippet here and then like a snippet in the next episode, and like so on and so forth, but like to focus on the him like waiting in line and hating his job on a show about the warrior race of Star Wars is not very. It wasn't good, and like I didn't even like the stuff that developed with this story. Like I thought it was weird. It didn't really make much sense to me. It was kind of dumb. I feel like they're really alluding to like this bad guy. And some people are saying like, oh, General Thawne's coming. It's like, they could just show him. They don't have
That's what I've seen that too, that it's all foreshadowing that, but I've also seen TikToks and stuff that are trying to justify it. They're like, this cloning technology is actually probably what leads to the creation of
the Emperor's clone.
The Emperor, the clones of the Emperor, and therefore, what's his name? I can't think of the Andy Serkis character from Force Awakens. Can't even think of his name.
Nope.
Yep, that's it. Snoke. And like this is going to lead to the Snoke clones and blah blah. And I'm like,
oh wow, two of the most
guess
least
how much I
interesting
was really
things.
clamoring to see the origination of the Snoke clones, because we know that was just to get to the Emperor, and we know how great that all played out.
Please don't ruin
Episode
the
9.
Mandalorian to try to justify the last 3 Star Wars
The
movies.
sequel trilogy.
Yeah, please don't. Like, you should have explained Palpatine's clone in the movie he was in. That's what
I
you should have done.
disagree.
No.
Why would they do that?
Why would they do that? That would make too much sense. Instead of everyone because then everyone at the theater wouldn't be like, "Oh, Palpatine's alive somehow." They would know, and that would be dumb, right?
I didn't necessarily hate this episode, but I didn't love it, and I'm kind of glad to hear you agree too. And I know Gary actually sent in one of the group chats I'm in with him. He sent a kind of like a joke in itself. Nobody actually said anything, Gary, but you referred to Mandalorian as the Meh-Dalorian, and I thought that was really clever, and I'm sorry for not giving you proper credit at the time.
Not a problem.
It's pretty good. I feel like John Favreau does this, right?
It's Favreau Filoni, right?
Filoni.
I think Favreau's the showrunner, and Filoni, they're both executive producers.
Favreau,
but
Filoni, if you're listening, we're not watching your show. We just want to see Pedro Pascal wherever he is. Put him on the screen. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's what you have. You have Pedro Pascal. No one else cares about anything else. Like, you're crazy. You're crazy if you think we care about this other stuff.
I've seen the newest trilogy, and I actually consider myself somewhat of a Star Wars fan. I know more than the average guy or gal. This is the first time I ever realized that Snoke was a failed Palpatine clone.
Yeah, same.
Isn't that the whole thing in Rise of Skywalker?
I have no idea, bro.
They never explain it.
I have no idea, bro. I just thought that was some guy, but the fact that he's a failed Palpatine clone makes a little bit more sense.
It does. So. It almost because like he just comes out of nowhere with no explanation. This is Snoke. No one's ever heard of me before, but I am a bad guy. And
this is going to be the 3rd week in a row that y'all make me go to
Wikipedia.
And because I think that's like a whole thing in the storyline of Star Wars is that like Snoke is a clone that's force sensitive, and that is what's relevant about it. I don't know.
Yeah, because all these Grogu experiments are them trying to figure out how to make clones that have midichlorians. Okay, fine. But like so that could have really cool implications and shit, but I don't need to see that guy. I don't know what they did to him. They reassimilated him into society just to unassimilate him into, like, what? Why did I have to watch that? Like, just have him continue to be a fringe scientist. I don't know. It was just a really, I did not like it.
Oh, man. If you try to read the stuff on, oh my gosh, guys. Snoke was a force-sensitive humanoid genetic strandcast male who ruled the First Order as supreme leader, blah, blah, blah. Possibly unaware of his true nature, Snoke was an artificial genetic construct created on the planet Exegol by the Dark Lord of the Sith and the Galactic Emperor Darth Sidious and his Sith Eternal cult during the reign of the Galactic Empire.
Nice.
After Sidious's resurrection, Snoke's body held no use in the Sith Lord's.
See, that's
pretty
pretty
gosh,
cool.
This is all a bunch of nonsense.
See, that's pretty cool. Why didn't we get that instead of a needless casino sequence?
I think it was there in the 9th movie, and we were all just so baffled by where that movie was going. Otherwise,
it wasn't there, Drew, and that's okay. It wasn't there.
Oh boy.
Nah, man. You know what makes Star Wars better? A casino heist. That's what we should add to this movie. Remember Ocean's 11 12 years ago? Yeah, let's put that into Star Wars. All right, I'm done. I'm sorry.
Gary, any Mandalorian thoughts you'd like to add?
No.
All right, then.
So I couldn't resist the no. So, you know how you said there's 20% less viewership? I definitely didn't watch last week. I totally forgot. I don't care. I'm not hooked this season. The last thing I remember is Baby Yoda Grogu jumping into the ship. And it looked like they just yeeted a dummy straight into the cockpit. And I remember thinking it was really funny looking. And yesterday I was at the bank and I saw they had a baby Grogu on the counter, and I thought about how fucking hilarious it was that that dummy just got yeeted. And I just kind of want to throw baby Grogus at stuff now. That's my take on Mandalorian season 3.
The part that's too bad is that the way that Jahan and I talked about it probably isn't going to make you want to rush out to watch the new episode.
Not gonna watch it.
The fact that
it's
almost an hour long. It features honestly, if you don't care about any of the middle stuff, you could watch like the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes and just see the Mando stuff. But even that is basically him just being told by the Mandalorian tribe, like, oh yeah, we got proof that you went to the living waters. I guess you're a Mandalorian now. Bo-Katan, you're technically one too. That's about it.
Yeah, I am just gonna watch the 4th one, maybe, and hopefully that one's good.
I will say I was just actually looking ahead on Wikipedia, not Wikipedia, good old Wikipedia. And the next episode is written by, so Favreau wrote the first 2, and then Jon Favreau and Noah Clure wrote the 3rd one. The 4th episode, it says, is written by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and it's directed by Carl Weathers, which I think is kind of neat.
Hey, what's up?
That is kind of neat.
So that might be interesting, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Gary, what you said is pretty much what I was saying earlier was, like, 3 episodes in, no hook. What are you doing? That's not how TV works. That's like any film student, anyone who's not a film student, because I'm not a film student, can tell you that. 3 episodes, no hook, get the fuck out of here. But whatever. All right, I'm done.
And I'm on the record as saying in the first episode or 2, I thought that the whole, like, goal of this season was going to be him on his journey to be, a Mandalorian again. And that now is solved in the 3rd episode. So I'm like, okay, so now what? Anyway. All right, well, that's Mandalorian. I did want to say, speaking of things that have been talked about a lot in the past, but I am finally just getting to, Gary, I finally watched the first episode of Poker Face. I said that I would.
So good.
I wanted to finish Succession, which I did. I finished all 3 seasons of Succession. That show is great. The season premiere of the new season is this coming Sunday. I'm looking forward to that. But I watched the first episode of Poker Face. Really liked it. I can see where it's going, like the murder of the week, but it still kind of has the underlying plot of her being on the run. Yeah, I thought I really liked it. I just was really vibing with this show, and it looks like there's a lot of fun guests that will be in the future episodes, different actors and such. Really enjoyed it. Also, shout out to Adrian Brody, who is really good in the first episode, and he's just somebody that I've been seeing on my screen a lot more in the past year. Like, he was great in Winning Time, which Gary and I were big fans of. He was in a movie briefly called See How They Run, which the movie is okay, but he's good in it. He actually has a part in Succession Season 3 that I just finished. He's only in like an episode or so, but he's really good in that. And then he was really great in this episode of Poker Face. So I just, Adrian Brody, somebody I've never been a huge fan of in the past, but I feel like everything I've seen him in the past year, it's like people are using him the right way.
I completely agree.
And he was really good in it in the first episode. And Natasha Lyonne, of course, is great, but Adrian Brody is a big
Adrian
supporting
Brody
part
thing
in this
to
one.
me even goes back to like Predators. When I was like, why are you making a Predator movie with Adrian Brody? Like, he's not badass, he's not cool, he's not funny, he's not so handsome. But now, years later, like you said, he has either found his own, or they figured out how to use him, but Adrian Brody now, he's just come a long way. I think he's phenomenal now. He's quickly becoming one of my favorites in Hollywood.
I actually liked him in Predators. I actually like that movie. I think it's pretty good.
I'm not surprised, and I would expect that. I would expect that you would like Predators, and I mean Predators. That in a good way.
I liked it.
I would want you to like Predators.
That's a Jahan movie, yeah.
Yeah.
It's got Lawrence Fishburne, and he's all crazy.
Drew, that episode with Adrian Brody is one of the best ones. It's the pilot, and it's great, and it's really hard to top an episode that good. But you're right, there are a lot of fun cameos throughout the series, and the Murder of the Week really keeps the whole series kind of fresh, so you never know what you're going to get into, and it's always some convoluted murder. It's never anything easy and straightforward, so that makes it fun. And then maybe my favorite episode was with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I saw
him in the season preview that he was going to be in it.
I think his is either the last episode or second to last episode, and it's also got Diego from Umbrella Academy.
Ooh,
they're sort of the two main guest stars of that one. And I really liked that episode. I'm glad you're watching Poker Face. Thomas told me he's to finally watch the first episode as well, and I think he immediately watched the second episode.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching this. And again, this is one I watch with my wife, and she's usually the one that's like, let's watch this. So that's good.
That's going to be one of my top picks for 2023 by the end of this year, I think. It's one of my favorite TV shows I've seen in a long time, and I'm pretty sure I'll be talking about it come December when we make our lists.
Awesome. So it's Poker Face. And then the only other thing I had that I wanted to talk about is Ted Lasso. Gary, have you been able to watch the season premiere of Ted Lasso?
I did. I went ahead and signed up for the free Apple trial, and I figure I'll just watch Ted Lasso and then cancel my Apple again.
Johan, remind me, do you watch Ted Lasso? Is this one that you're...
I have seen some, and I did watch this episode, yeah.
Oh, good,
sick.
Good.
My dad likes it.
Yeah, I kind of felt like it's been a while since season 2, and so there were something I didn't rewatch any of season 2, and I didn't watch any kind of recap videos. So I feel like as I was watching the premiere, I was kind of having to remind myself, oh yeah, this happened. Oh yeah, like I totally forgot about him having panic attacks in the second season, just like little things like that. But I still really enjoyed it. I feel like it was very much the season premiere of a half-hour comedy series, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. Like I mean that it was good, but maybe it's the not franchise fatigue. That's not the right thing, but just the eventization of TV and how like, oh, it's the season premiere. Oh, you gotta watch it. Oh my gosh, and it's like it's not that kind of show. Like it was just a really solid premiere episode.
Yeah,
right. Like
I thought it was lovely.
It is.
I thought it was fine.
You're exactly
a little
right.
Boring, but there was a lot of setup, and hopefully that'll lead to stuff. I thought it was cool that the entire cast of Ted Lasso spoke at the White House press meeting about mental health. That was cool, including Jason.
Neat.
Yeah, because Jason Stathams' character obviously has panic attacks and mental health problems, and so they actually talked about it. So that was cool.
Yeah, they are all lovely, episode. And as Gary said, it just the lovely vibes are there once again, and that's what we all watch it for, right? So.
Yep. Keely getting her makeup on what's her face's dress was lovely,
and the other guy.
The son being in the first episode was lovely, and then Ted thinking that or we, as the viewer, seeing that the text from the mom that says, "I love you, here's your flight," and we're like, "Oh, maybe they rectified their." Oh no, they didn't rectify their stuff. That's the son's.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. I like that part.
And then, of course, he still has his relationship where he can call the doctor and talk to her about his mental health issues. I thought there was a lot of great stuff all through the episode. For only 30 minutes, they moved a lot. They showed us all of our characters. They gave us what we need to worry about this season. They might be relegated back down. I thought it was wonderful. Absolutely great. It's everything I expected from Ted Lasso. It did not let me down.
He legitimately had a press battle with Nate and and beat him with kindness. Which
And Nate is
Pretty good.
such a douchebag now. It's so perfect. The way he's just ignoring people saying hello, Coach Shelley, and people walk into his office.
I
he's
was
like, "Get out!"
wondering. I was wondering what was up with that. I was like, "What are you doing? That's not
He's just
cool."
such a dick now.
He is such a dick.
He's fantastically a dick, and he's come a long way since season 1 because he's initially so endearing and so lovable. So that actor's putting on a great show.
He had a heel turn.
Yeah, really good heel turn. Well said. I've got one thing on my list to talk about. Physical 100. It's a Netflix show. It's a Korean Netflix show. They are the top 100 most fit people from Southern Korea. So it's bodybuilders, it is models, it's the guy who won the World Firefighter Championships, it's special forces members, Olympic gold medalists, just everybody who's everybody, the top 100 fittest people in Korea. And it's not a trashy reality show. It's just a physical challenge show. So they're not living in one house and there's not all the drama and gossip and voting people off. It's just physical challenges. The first thing they have to do is see how long they can hang from like bars. And you watch 100 people just fall one by one until there's one person left. And then they're ranked in order from who fell first to who fell last. And then they pick one-on-one murder death matches, which is a ball. There's a ball in a small court. One person has to be holding the ball by the end of 3 minutes, and anything goes. So the challenges are very physical. They're very rough. The show's a lot of fun. Korean editing is different than American editing. They they do like a lot of crowd reaction stuff when they'll do it like 3 times in a row. The crowd's like, whoa, 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 and they'll show it from 3 different cameras. And so there's a lot of that in the series that's kind of cheesy. But other than that, it's a pretty enjoyable show. If you're just looking for something dumb or you like those kind of physical reality challenge shows, Physical 100's a fun watch. I'm cheering for the 47-year-old MMA guy who looks like a Korean Tony Stark. I didn't spoil it for myself, but I did Google it just before I got on here, and it said that there might be some controversy with the ending because it seems like maybe the showrunners planned on who was going to make it to the finale. So I'll let you guys know about that when I get there, and I'll read more about it when I know more about it. But Physical 100, if you're looking for something to watch and you've got Netflix, that's a thing. WrestleMania season's coming up, Drew.
It is. WrestleMania is just in a few weeks now, right?
It'll be on the 1st. It's next, not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday.
Oh, man. Yeah, coming up fast.
Nice.
I will be watching both nights of that, and we will definitely have to do maybe a WrestleMania-themed episode of the pod after that. How appropriate would that be?
That would be great. I actually, Kevin Romero might be coming in town that weekend, so I might be watching the whole thing and hanging out with him and shooting the breeze, so that could be fun.
Perfect. All right, well, anything else that we have to add, you guys?
That's it for me.
Yeah, I've got nothing else, man. That's it.
Anything you're looking forward to in the next week? I know I can speak to myself. I'm excited for, we've got the Yellow Jackets premiere later this week. Succession premieres over the weekend, and I've heard nothing but great things about John Wick Chapter 4 and its 2-hour, 40-minute runtime. So, some fun things to talk about next week for sure.
Yeah.
There is a video game coming out, but I don't remember what it is, but it's coming to Game Pass on the 11th, and I just pre-installed it.
Is it Redfall?
No, Redfall's in May, I think. I think it comes out April 11th, which, I don't want to sit here and Google the whole time and try to figure out what the game is. But there's something coming out on Game Pass. If you're a Game Pass guy, you could pre-install it now. Go check out what's coming out soon.
That I know MLB The Show is coming soon. That new, not on Game Pass, but the Resident Evil 4 remake is coming out later this week, and it's getting like 10 out of 10s all over the place, and I'm probably going to have to shell out money for that one because I kind of want to play it.
Which one?
Resident Evil 4.
Oh, snap. Yeah. I already played, so I played the remaster that came out a while ago. This is like the second remaster, so I don't know, man, but maybe. I really did enjoy the game.
This is a weird tangent for the end of this episode.
Ghostwire Tokyo. That's the one I was looking at.
Oh yeah, it's a Bethesda game from one of the studios that was a PlayStation exclusive for a year, and now it's finally coming out on Game Pass because that exclusivity deal with PlayStation was done before Microsoft acquired Bethesda.
Bro,
Similar to how Deathloop was the same way. It had that year of exclusivity.
People are weird, man. They're like worried. I've been hearing rumors that like PlayStation people are like Xbox is gonna like any game that's on both that Xbox owns the company. They're like Xbox is gonna put faults in the PlayStation version so that we have to play on it. And it's like that's insane.
It's all stemming from the Activision Blizzard acquiring deal and with Call of Duty, and it's been a much more uphill battle than Microsoft expected, and I think a lot of that's due to just the changes in
it'll be worth it.
Yeah, and the administration and how they review these kinds of deals these days. But I still think it's gonna go through. But there's a lot of craziness, and it really kind of comes across as Sony's execs like kind of having crying fits, like being babies about it.
I just want all the games from Activision Blizzard and everything to come to Game Pass. Like, do I have to pay for Diablo?
Have you seen Ghostwire Tokyo at all?
Yeah.
Have you heard? Okay, it's right up your alley. It's cyberpunk horror.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna download it for sure. So I guess that answers Drew's question. Yeah, that's one. That's
one I wanted to make sure you didn't want to miss. That looks like it's for
Ghostwire
you.
Tokyo is something that I've looked into that I've been excited for, and then also I download Guilty Gear as well. I'm gonna give that a go. I don't know. I'm excited for a few things, but mostly stuff that's on the horizon. Unfortunately, maybe I'll get something cool with this spring sale and have something to play. But I've just been playing the crap out of a lot of games that I've already played before. So,
is it worth me playing the Resident Evil 4 remaster? I've never played Resident Evil 4. This is a blind spot on my video game backlog. Should I play the Resident Evil 4 remaster and then get the remake after, or should I just go straight to the remake?
Just go straight to the remake.
Okay.
I don't think there's any point in doing both of them because like it's going to be the same game. I hear that they're adding stuff to the remake, so like you'll have a different experience,
controls and everything. Yeah.
Well, so the remaster already had the new controls, but I mean, I don't think there's a reason to do both. Personally,
okay, fair enough.
Save yourself the pain because then you're just going to be playing two very similar stories twice in a row, and it doesn't sound like fun to me.
Okay, fair enough. I might just buy the new one.
Because the fourth one is probably one of my favorites of the franchise. So look forward to it. But yeah, I guess that's it.
It is decided.
Everybody, thanks for listening. This has been episode 79 of Fresh Out the Podcast. I've been Jahanan at RockFact on Twitter.
It's me, Casualty CDG, and you can find me at Casualty CDG across pretty much all of the social media things. If you like our podcast, please give us a little likey on your podcast system, whether it's Spotify or Apple or whatever else. Give us 5 stars or 1 thumb or however many things that you give to things that you like. And if you just want to hear more of Jahan and I just being totally insane, every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're playing tabletop role-playing games at twitch.tv/Jahananon. We have a Facebook. It's Fresh Out the Box TTRPG. You could follow our YouTube. It's Fresh Out the Box TTRPG. And we play games with new people all the time. We're either trying to inspire you with things that are hilarious or give you nightmares with slow, violent deaths.
I am Drew Munhausen, at Drew Munhausen on Twitter. Thank you again so much for listening to episode 79 of Fresh Out the Podcast, and we will catch you next time.
Stay fresh!